Hello and welcome back to another live stream on high altitude investing. Today is the 28th of August, and yeah, it's going to be a good stream. I'm excited to be sharing with you guys my views on crypto and what I think it's going to do in the near future as well as in the bigger picture. So yeah, let's get started here. Share the links on Discord, on X, and yeah, cool. So yeah, we're going to start off here with Bitcoin on the daily candlesticks. Now, Bitcoin is doing something very similar to what Bitcoin did over here, where we had a correction on Bitcoin pulling us back down to support, and it's doing the same thing again. Right here we have an ABC correction, regular zigzag correction, and this is an expanded flat correction. So it's a little bit of a different correction, but it's the same thing pretty much happening all over again. So what I'm watching for on Bitcoin based on this is another move on the upside. So we'd be looking for a breakout up through our old all-time high at $124,000 per coin and a push further here on Bitcoin. So I believe we're getting ready for another big move. This is a great area of support for buying and for picking up more coins in preparation for more upside. So that's kind of my views on Bitcoin. As you guys know, Bitcoin is kind of like the mothership. It fuels the rest of the market. So if Bitcoin is doing good, then the rest of the market is going to do good too. And alt season is also starting. We're starting to see Bitcoin dominance go down, which tells me that we're going to see a huge pump not only for Bitcoin, but for the markets as a whole. So I'm very excited about this next upswing that we're going to have on Bitcoin and for the altcoins. What is up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in. Operation Shutdown, Tiger King, good to see you. Marlone, thank you for tuning in. Jason, what is up, my friend? Good to see you tuning in. So yeah, I'm expecting more upside on Bitcoin, very typical ABC correction, and I believe we'll see another push up here, up towards a new all-time high. And that's going to send the altcoins soaring to the moon because Bitcoin dominance is clearly in a downtrend or starting a downtrend as we speak. And that means that both Bitcoin and the altcoin markets are getting ready for a big parabolic move up, or at least another leg up in the markets. And yeah, so I'm very excited about the crypto markets as a whole, including Bitcoin and the altcoins. So let's go ahead and pull up the total market cap as well. So the total market cap is also looking very good here. This trend is strong, so the trend is your friend. If you see an uptrend in the market, it's likely going to continue, and all dips are for buying. So just like how we bought the dip down here and bought the dip right here as well and bought the dip right here, buying the dip right here is a very similar kind of situation. It's very, very, very similar to what happened to Apple. So if we pull up Apple, we'll go to a bigger time frame here on the total crypto market cap, and we'll pull up Apple computers over here on the right, and I'll kind of illustrate how these trends work. So we've got Apple over here on the right, and Bitcoin over here, or the total market cap over here on the left. But Bitcoin looks pretty much the same as well. So you can see here with Apple on the right and Bitcoin over here on the left, or the total market cap over here on the left, we have a very, very similar structure. This trend on Apple, all the dips were for buying. Every time the market had a correction, that was an opportunity to pick up more of Apple stock, right? The trend continued and kept going higher. And that's really what I see coming for crypto as a whole, is more upside, more parabolic movement, and more just, trend on the upside for the crypto markets. And we can stretch these charts out a little bit better here so you can see kind of how early we are with crypto. You can see how similar the total market cap is to Apple over here on the right. And this leads me to believe that we're going to continue to see more upside for the total crypto market cap, and the trend will continue up, not without corrections, but those corrections are going to be good opportunities for buying. And so, I believe we'll continue to see more upside with the total crypto market cap here, and we're going to make a lot of money on the movement that's coming for crypto. So, Bitcoin looks good. The total crypto market cap looks good. And I'm just kind of watching for another break on the upside in the short term, as well as a continuation of the bigger picture trend that we're forming on Bitcoin and the total market cap as well. So it looks really good. Jason says XRP bull flag building since July on the daily. Would you agree? Let's check out the XRP chart here and see what it shows us. So pulling up on the daily here. This is a bull flag kind of structure here for XRP. Kind of a triangle too. You can see it's more of a triangle structure right here. So this is a bullish continuation pattern. And this, when we break above the resistance of this pattern, that would lead to more upside for XRP. So another all-time high, breaking above our old all-time high at $3.65, taking us all the way to a new all-time high as a result of this bullish continuation pattern. So it's actually kind of a smaller version of what happened right here. You can see we also had a triangle form on XRP right here, and that led to a bullish breakout, and we have another triangle right here on XRP that's set up for another bullish breakout on the upside. So that looks really good here for XRP. And I see a lot more upside coming and more parabolic growth, more movement, more upside for XRP based on that triangle. So it looks really good. Welcome everybody. Thank you guys all for taking some time out of your day to tune in to today's live stream. Theta Max says, love your vids. Hey, thank you. I appreciate that. And it's fun to make these videos. It's fun to do these live streams. So I really appreciate all the support and the love that I get from you guys in the comments and in my stream and in the Discord. You guys are always telling me how thankful you are, and I really appreciate that. Theta Max says, what's with that Masonic logo on your wall? Evil stuff. it is actually a really common belief for people to have a negative view of Masonry. And I am a Freemason. And for me personally, it's helped me become a better man, helped me overcome certain aspects of myself that were detrimental, and helped me grow into a better person and actually work towards growing those qualities that are good inside of me. So the motto of Masonry is to take good men and make them better men. And I really believe that that's true. So there is a lot of, it's kind of one of those things where there's a lot of people out there and a lot of people that believe that it is evil, that believe that, there's something wrong with Masonry or dark about it. But Masonry is based on light and truth and honesty. And I can tell you that for myself, it's helped me become a better person. So Matt Osty says, "Yeesh, you sneaky guy. A surprise live stream on Thursday. Smash those likes, peeps." I'm actually not going to be able to do a live stream over the weekend. So that's why we're doing one today. So, yeah, I did decide to do a sneaky live stream on Thursday to keep you guys updated on the markets and let you know what I think is coming for crypto. Mike says, "Do you think the passing of the Clarity Act will act as a catalyst for the final parabolic run and blow off top?" So I actually don't know about the Clarity Act. That's not something I'm educated on, so I can't give you an honest response as to what I believe would happen as a result of the passing of the Clarity Act. That's something that I don't have any personal knowledge of. Adam L. says, "Did I miss Velo already?" No, but we can run over Velo in a little while if you want. We'll go ahead and check out the chart and do some analysis on Velo. But first we're going to do Bitcoin Cash because we've had that requested here by Lil Nippy. So let's pull up Bitcoin Cash and then we'll go into Velo as well. So Bitcoin Cash it's kind of the same thing that's happening to Bitcoin right now with a little bit of a pullback, very small pullback in the markets. And the trend, again, it's your friend. It's going to continue up. We'll see probably a lot more upside here coming for Bitcoin Cash with a bullish breakout of this resistance level right here. So this is a bull flag pattern on Bitcoin Cash. And the continuation of this trend that we've started to form here is very likely. I see a big breakout coming for Bitcoin Cash on the daily candlesticks as well as the bigger picture. So let me pull up the bigger picture chart here and show you kind of what I'm seeing for Bitcoin Cash. So if we pull up Bitcoin Cash on the left and then we pull up Litecoin on the right, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about here. So let's pull up Litecoin. So in the bigger picture for Bitcoin Cash, I expect a move very similar to what happened to Litecoin in 2017. Litecoin had a big parabolic run in 2017. A lot of people made a lot of money. It was a lot of fun. And that was a result of an accumulation pattern. So you can see the accumulation pattern over here on Litecoin. Very similar to the accumulation that we're currently seeing with Bitcoin Cash. So what I see coming for Bitcoin Cash is not only a breakout through resistance on those smaller time frames, but also a breakout through resistance on the bigger picture as well. And a parabolic run, very similar to what happened to Litecoin in 2017. So we see the same kind of human emotion, the same psychology taking place on both of these charts, just a different, same story, different day, right? There's nothing new under the sun, as it says in the Bible, and you see these same patterns repeating over and over again in the markets, and that's exactly what we see here with Bitcoin Cash, is a repeat of the same fractal of human psychology that took place on Litecoin during its accumulation cycle. So I believe big things are coming for Bitcoin Cash. Now let's pull up Vevel here as well. So Vevel had a huge correction here. You can see we had a big correction on Vevel, pulling us all the way back down to a new all-time low, right? So once 2021 happened and the markets kind of topped out in 2021 and started a bear market in 2022, you can see a huge crash on Vevel. But now in terms of risk to reward, the risk is very low and the opportunity for profit is very high, because a huge pullback like this tells you that it's undervalued. It tells you that the market is extremely undervalued in the bigger picture. So let's zoom into the smaller time frame here and take a look at what's happening on Vevel. We do have a higher high, higher low pattern forming. And we just barely pulled back onto horizontal support right here. We have horizontal support. We pulled right back down onto that level. So I expect a strong reaction off of that support level and a move up towards our previous local high right here at around 3 cents. So watch for Vevel to push up through resistance to find support down here at around a penny, 1.4 cents, and for continuation in the shorter time frame. So what it's really doing here is a reversal pattern. So in the big picture, we had a big correction, and we're starting to see the early signs of a reversal with this higher high, higher low structure on Vevel. You can see we have our first low here, and then we have our high here, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, and now what I'm expecting to happen in the markets is a breakout up through resistance and another higher high. So that's a pretty classic kind of reversal structure in the market, and I believe we will see more upside coming for Vevel. Theta Max, your predictions for Ethereum a couple months ago were spot on. Awesome. Yeah, so this kind of goes back to the whole buy the dip philosophy. If the markets are down and people are afraid and they all believe a bear market is happening, then it's usually a pretty good time to buy and to pick up more of whatever coin you're looking at, especially if there's good volume. Ethereum is one of those coins that has massive market cap, and it was pretty easy to see that Ethereum was very undervalued when it was at its lows before we started to break out to a new all-time high. So buying the dip really does work. That's why sometimes I'll title my live streams Winners Buy the Dip, right? Because if you buy the dip when people are afraid, you're going against the crowd. And with crypto and really any market in the world, if you're buying when other people are doing the complete opposite, then you're probably doing the right thing. You're going to profit off of that because you're doing something that other people aren't doing. So you kind of set yourself apart from the crowds by buying the dip when people are afraid, when they're looking at, the chart, they see it drop down, they're afraid, they're panic selling. Those are the best times to buy. So with Ethereum, that's kind of how I was able to see what was coming for Ethereum, was how undervalued it was in the short term and how fearful everybody was at those lows. And also, it looked a lot like Amazon. So markets are fractal in nature. So that, again, the same patterns repeat over and over in the markets. And if we pull up Ethereum over here on the left, and then we pull up Amazon over here on the right, and it doesn't matter what market you're comparing to. It doesn't matter if you're comparing, gold, silver, crypto, stocks, Forex. You're going to see the same patterns appearing because the markets, the same human psychology takes place in the markets over and over again, right? And so when Ethereum was down here at around $1,500 per coin, it looked a lot like Amazon in 2008 when everybody panic sold their Amazon stock, or at least a lot of people did, before Amazon really went parabolic and went to the moon. So Ethereum's doing a very similar thing. It's starting to recover just like Amazon did, and the trend is likely going to continue up as a result of the same psychology, the same pattern playing out in the markets over and over again. And so yeah, I really believe we will see more upside for Ethereum. This little dip that we saw in the short term is a great opportunity to buy. It came right back down onto horizontal support, and that trend that you can see formed on Amazon, very big, very huge uptrend came after 2008, and that's what I see coming for Ethereum as well. A big parabolic run, a big uptrend forming for Ethereum, kind of like a mass adoption phase, right, where crypto becomes something that everybody uses instead of something people are just like afraid of because it's a new technology. Same thing happened with pretty much every single technology in the world. If you study history, whenever something new is created, people are always really fearful at the start. At least the majority of people are afraid of it. Then over time, it gets adopted. They see the benefit of actually using the technology, and that's what leads to adoption by the general public. So crypto is kind of doing the same thing that the internet did and computing did as well, where the markets pulled back really hard after the internet bubble, but then computers and the internet became something that everybody used. But at the start, there was a lot of fear. There was a lot of people saying, oh no, this is a new technology, it's going to ruin everything, And if you would have tried to tell people that the internet was going to be something everybody used every day, only a select few people would have really listened to you. A lot of people would have been very skeptical. The news headlines after the internet bubble popped, the news headlines were all headlines of, oh, the internet's a passing fad, it's never going to come back. It was just, people just got excited about it. There's nothing to it. So there's a lot of fear around the internet. And, here's a story. My dad, he wouldn't let us get a Nintendo 64 because my dad was like really afraid of like gaming. Like he thought that, gaming was like going to be this bad thing. He was kind of afraid of it, right? So he wouldn't let us get a Nintendo 64 for a long time. Like, we really had to convince him, like, hey, Dad, you know, we need this Nintendo 64. And so with crypto, it's kind of the same thing, right? There's a lot of people that are hesitant, they're skeptical of new technologies, and then later they see the benefit of it. Later they're like, "Oh, okay, this is actually useful." And so that's kind of a common theme, and the same thing is happening with crypto. Now, crypto obviously isn't the internet. Crypto isn't Nintendo. It's not video games. It's not computers. Crypto is its own thing, right? But the same kind of psychology that happens among people is happening again with crypto right now. So I believe we will see a big kind of mass adoption where crypto becomes something everybody is using, everybody is accustomed to, and it becomes something that's adopted by the public, something everybody uses on an everyday basis, not just super nerds like new technologies. There's always the super nerds that are into it really early on, and then later everybody uses it. So everybody has a phone, right? Almost everybody has a phone, but at the start it was like nobody had a phone. So that's kind of the same thing I see coming for crypto, and I firmly believe crypto will be mass adopted by the public, and that's really what we're headed into right now. Digibyte. All right, let's do some Digibyte analysis. So pulling up Digibyte here. Yeah, Digibyte is very, very, very undervalued right now in the big picture. We're down significantly from our peak, but what we're doing here is an accumulation cycle. So this is basically what this is people get excited just like they did, in 2021, and then they get fearful like they did in 2022. So they panic sell. They believe it's dead. They don't see any value in it. But really, if they would open their eyes, then they would buy the dip. And that's exactly what I see here with Digibyte. Digibyte is one of those coins where people are going to say, oh, this coin is dead. This coin, it's down from its peak. It's never going to recover. Why would I ever buy this coin? But if you understand kind of the way people think, people often think in terms of, oh, well, nobody's excited about this, so why should I be excited about it? And then when everybody's excited, then they're excited too. So it's natural inside of the human tendency within us to be excited when other people are excited and fearful when other people are fearful. And that's why it's so profitable to buy when other people are fearful and sell when other people are excited. And in terms of Digibyte right now, Digibyte is very, very undervalued. A lot of people would call this coin dead. A lot of people would say there's no way it's going to recover. But the truth of the matter is there will be another big parabolic run on Digibyte, just like what we saw in 2021 and in 2017. KV says, hi, Dallin. Thank you. I am in some riskier plays and would love your thoughts on their charts and targets. Tuna, AU79, and trash. Yeah, so first of all, we'll go ahead and do some analysis on Tuna. and see what we can find here with the chart. It's pretty easy to fall victim to the human psychology of the markets. And it takes, usually it takes a long time for people to overcome that unless unless you've had the benefit of learning from somebody that's already kind of been through the whole process of buying the top and selling the bottom and falling victim to the markets. So if you take the time to learn from people that have been through that whole process and have actually gained the knowledge required to make money in these markets, then you can kind of cut away all of the noise and just kind of lean on their knowledge a little bit and be a better investor yourself. So there's a lot of altcoins right now where people are very bearish because they have not gone through the process of basically experiencing the cycles themselves. And so, they see it and they're like, that's so dead. There's no way that's going to recover. So Tuna here is in a nice uptrend. And I believe this coin will continue to see more upside. So we've started a good uptrend here on Tuna. This is a consolidation pattern right here. And it's a good dip buy. It looks like a really good dip buy right now to pick up more Tuna in preparation for a parabolic move, another breakout, another leg up in the markets where Tuna sees more upside. And that should take us up towards at least 25 cents in our next breakout. So it looks like a pretty good dip buy. Increasing price and increasing volume is bullish. So we have increasing volume down here, and we have increasing price right here. So that's bullish. So again, buying the dip on these uptrends is very profitable. Just like how buying the dip after a huge correction or a big bear market is also very profitable and lucrative in the market. So I do see more upside coming for Tuna. And by the way, thank you for the donation. I really appreciate that. It means a lot when you guys donate in my live streams. AU79. Let's pull up AU79 here. So, AU79, this looks really good. This looks pretty much, this is the same kind of thing as Tuna. We have a strong uptrend forming, and you really don't want to try to short stuff like this. I know you can't short very easily with these meme coins, but you really don't want to try to short the meme coins when they're in big uptrends like this, because the trend is your friend. And once people start getting excited, that psychology starts to take place and a huge parabolic run happens. This looks a lot like Moodang. If you guys were here for Moodang really early on looked a lot like this before Moodang went parabolic and went to the moon. We have a huge volume spike for this coin, and again, increasing price and increasing volume. So this looks really good. This looks like it's going to keep going up, and we'll see more upside for this coin. Trash. Let's pull up Trash coin. Only in crypto, man, do you get these crazy ridiculous names of coins. One man's trash is another man's treasure. That's funny. So yeah, this looks really good. This is wave 1 and wave 2 in the market here. We have a cycle, a full cycle for this coin. I believe what we'll see here is more upside. This is the beginning of a big reversal for Trash. We already had our first cycle pulling back down to support, and now we're starting to see the early signs of a recovery. So a break above our old all-time high is very likely. In the short term, the very short term, we pulled back, so this is a good dip buy area for trash. Toddlers Puzzles Game says thoughts on Litecoin. So let's pull up Litecoin here. So I'm super bullish on Litecoin. I've made a lot of videos about Litecoin and what I see coming for Litecoin. So let's talk about the short term first, and then we'll go out to the bigger picture. So in the short term, we had a double bottom pattern right here. So here's our first low, here's our second low. We broke above the resistance of our double bottom. We came back out up to resistance right here. And then now we came back down to the support level, and we're finding support currently for Litecoin. So this looks really good for a dip buy at this area, and we're oversold on the MACD as well, so that's a really good sign. I'd be watching for a recovery, a break above our local resistance, and the beginning of a big uptrend in the bigger picture. And speaking of the bigger picture, let's zoom out here, and we'll take a look at this chart and compare it to Nvidia. So if we pull up Nvidia over here on the right, Nvidia, very similar kind of accumulation for Nvidia in the bigger picture. You can see we have the same human psychology, the same fractal, the same, again, history repeats itself, right? So because of the fact that history repeats itself, you see the same patterns appearing in all of these different markets, whether it's Nvidia, Litecoin, whatever it is, right? If you're looking at gold or silver, you're going to see the same patterns of human emotion playing out in the markets. So not only do I see upside coming on the smaller time frame with a breakout up through our local resistance, but in the bigger picture, I believe Litecoin will see a big parabolic run, kind of a mass adoption phase for crypto as a whole, Litecoin included, very similar to the fractal of human emotion that happened on Nvidia back in the day. So big things coming for Litecoin in the big picture, and I see a big parabolic run just like Nvidia coming for Litecoin. Professor K says, "Hey Dallin, good morning. Crow pumped like crazy." Yeah, so Crow is a good example of buying the dip, right? At the start of the stream, I was talking about buying the dip and how it's smart to buy the dip. When people are fearful, you should be looking at picking up that coin, and when people are excited, you should be looking at selling, right? That's a pretty straightforward kind of way to look at the markets. So if you look at Kronos here, you can see that we had a huge correction in 2022 and a reaccumulation in 2024 and 2025, and now we're starting to recover. So this is a big dip, right? Big dip in the market. People got fearful. They thought it was dead. But you can see how the market cycle is recovering. We're starting to see the beginning of a new cycle, and we're really pretty early here for this coin. We're still pretty early for Kronos. We had a big move on the shorter time frame. If we zoom in here, you can see this coin just pretty much went vertical on the smaller time frame, and that's because of the fact that it was so undervalued in the bigger picture. So kind of going back to what I was saying about how buying the dip in the big picture is so profitable, as well as buying the dip in established uptrends is also profitable. When people are fearful, it's good to be buying. It's good to be greedy when people are fearful, and fearful when people are greedy. Now, let's go ahead and zoom out here. What's really cool about Kronos is a classic market cycle. So if we pull up Nvidia, IXIC, the Nasdaq Composite Index, you can see Kronos did pretty much the same thing that happened to the internet during the internet bubble. So this is a classic market cycle here for the Nasdaq, and this was the internet bubble right here. And then we had a double bottom pattern that formed right after the internet bubble popped. And then after the internet bubble popped, that's when we had a big recovery in the market. So if we pull up a market cycle chart here, you can see that that's pretty much what happens every single time. People get excited, they get fearful, and they fall victim to their emotions, the psychology of the market. So they buy the top, they sell the bottom, and it ends up being really a way that they end up losing money instead of making money, because they don't understand the first principle of human psychology, which is to go against the crowd when it comes to investing and trading. And if we go back over to the Nasdaq, you can see the Nasdaq, that's what a market cycle is, right? The internet bubble was a market cycle. Big parabolic run and correction, double bottom pattern right here, and then a big recovery. And you can see that we had a full recovery because of the fact that the human emotion is taking place in the market. And we had a big parabolic run as a result of that human emotion, right? People got too fearful in 2008 and in 2003, and then the bigger players, the whales, they bought the dip. The big institutions, they bought the dip because they knew, hey, the majority of people are afraid. The majority of people are fearful, and they think it's going to go lower, and that provides a really good opportunity in the market. And Kronos over here looks exactly like the internet bubble. So we're just barely starting to recover here. Here's our double bottom pattern right here. So that would relate to this point in the cycle here. Here's the euphoria phase of the market cycle. Here's the euphoria phase of the market cycle on Kronos. And this is the recovery that came afterwards for the Nasdaq. And I see the same type of recovery coming for Kronos. Big breakout up above our old all-time high. So even though it feels like people are too excited right now, in the context of the bigger cycle, we're actually still really undervalued for Kronos. And I see a lot more upside coming for this coin. And what's really cool is silver's actually doing the same thing. So if we pull up silver on the right, go over to crypto futures silver. Okay, here we go. Silver did the same thing, right? Silver, same comparison, same market cycle, same human emotion. Here's our parabolic run all the way to euphoria. Here's where people got too fearful. And here's the recovery on silver that we're starting to see. So really what I see coming for both Kronos and for silver is a break above the old all-time high to a new all-time high. And if I can find the right tool here, there we go. it would look like this. Not without corrections, little corrections along the way up, but pretty much because of how oversold it is in the context of the bigger picture, it's going to be very vertical and very parabolic and very straight up. You know, the markets are just going to go straight up because of how undervalued they are and because of the nature of the human psychology taking place for both silver and for Kronos. It's what a market cycle is. It's the same thing that happened during the internet bubble. So both silver and Kronos are both really, really good investments. High-tech redneck. Working in Michigan on EV battery plant job for Ford and hoping for a big Theta pump. Yeah, Theta is the same thing. Back to the market cycle. Today, our main focus is going to be buying the dip in the big picture and buying the dip in uptrends that are already established, because those are both very profitable strategies to make money in the markets. And when it comes to Theta, if we have Theta over here on the left, and we're going to pull up the internet bubble over here on the right, you can see that's the same human emotion, the same psychology. Okay? So 2008 is right here for the NASDAQ Composite Index. This is 2008. That's where we double bottomed. We had our first low here and our second low right here. And in 2008, the NASDAQ double bottomed and broke out all the way to a new all-time high and went vertical, right? And for Theta, it's the exact same thing that we're seeing for Theta right now. Theta had a big parabolic run, came all the way back down, a double bottom pattern, and this is basically the same as right here. So a strong recovery and a big breakout is what I see coming for Theta, and it's really going to be very profitable for the people that were willing to hold on and that were patient enough to buy the dip. Even if you bought the top of the cycle up here and you held, if you don't sell, if you don't panic sell like everybody else does, a recovery is going to happen. You know, everybody panic sold their stocks in 2008. Everybody panic sold Amazon and Apple in 2003. But what happened afterwards was huge parabolic growth and a lot of movement on the upside. And so people are doing the same thing with crypto right now. They believe we're in a bear market. They're calling these coins dead. They don't see any value in them. When really buying Theta right now is like buying the NASDAQ in 2008 before the market recovered, before it went parabolic and went all the way to a new all-time high. Very similar psychology. And you'll notice how I'm using the NASDAQ compared to Theta. So the NASDAQ on the right and Theta over here on the left to illustrate the fact that the market cycles are the same. It doesn't really matter what you're trading. I've compared Theta to Ethereum. I've compared Theta to Bitcoin back in 2015. And I'm comparing it to the NASDAQ right now because the market cycle is the same. The pattern of human emotion is the same. You see the same psychology taking place in the market over and over again, and that's why it's so profitable to buy the dip here in the bigger picture, and that's why it's so lucrative to be buying when other people are afraid, you know. So for Theta, I see a huge parabolic run coming. It's going to make millionaires. It's going to make people filthy rich, and I'm very excited about the parabolic movement coming for this coin. could you look, Nico Cool Vid says, hi Dallin, could you look at XPR or persistence? XPR network. Persistence. There we go. This is the one we're looking for. Let's just type in persistence. Persistence. XPRT. There we go. KuCoin is probably the best place for us to look at it. So this coin, we're starting to see volume coming into this coin, which is good. We have a bit of a falling wedge kind of structure here forming, or at least a downward facing triangle. To see volume coming in here is a good sign for this coin. That shows that there's buyer interest down at these levels. We're heavily undervalued. Now, we do want to see some type of double bottom pattern form, because if we don't get any type of double bottom pattern, this could go lower from here. But even if it goes a little bit lower, the fact that volume is coming in is a sign that there's people buying down here, and it's very likely that we will see a reversal soon for this coin. And with Bitcoin dominance starting to go down and altcoins starting to take off, that will give fuel to the fire for a reversal on persistence. Professor K says, can you play us a tune today? It's been a while. Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to play a tune on my guitar. Yeah, I'll play a tune for you, do a couple more requests, and we'll call it a live stream. Let me pull my guitar out right here. Play a tune for you. So this song is called Nearer My God to Thee, and it's one of my favorite songs. I was actually able to, so before my grandpa passed away and before my grandma passed away, I was able to come play my guitar for him, and I played both of them this song. So this song is near and dear to my heart. It reminds me of my grandparents, and it was a huge blessing to be able to play some music for them before they passed away. So there you go. Near My God to Thee on the guitar. One of my favorite songs. And yeah, let's keep doing requests on cryptos. Let's see, XPRT. So yeah, I think I did the right ticker, because there's XPR. There's like a couple. There's XPR network, which is different than XPRT, right? XPR network looks really good right now. It actually kind of looks a lot like Crow before Crow took off. But yeah, XPRT, watch for a double bottom pattern on that coin for it to turn around. Rico Hawk says, hey Dallin, Keeta, if you have time, you missed it earlier above on the live stream. Yeah, let's pull up Keeta. Keeta. Okay. So this saw a pretty brutal correction here. It's probably lower market cap. Let's go check on coin market cap and see. Keeta. Well, it has 324 million in market cap, so that's not bad. Where can we look at this? Where's the best place to look at the chart? Kraken? Maybe? KTA on Kraken? No, that's not giving us any data almost. Keeta. This is pretty much the most data we're going to get. On coin market cap, you can see there's a little bit more data here actually. So let's go to charts.cointrader.pro. This is kind of a cool little trick you can do. This website's free, and if you can't get all of the historical data on a chart, then you can come here and pull up charts.cointrader.pro, and it will give you the data because it pulls from coin market cap. So KTA. Maybe not. It's not listed on here, so we can't use that either. We'll just use this one. We'll just use coin market cap price here. So with Keeta, you can see we have our first kind of run up here on the market and a pullback down to support. So that's kind of the first impulse, the first wave in a new cycle. And then we pulled back down to support again recently, a pretty brutal correction here for this coin, but we're on horizontal support currently. So if I just take a screenshot, we'll just kind of do this in a different way than I normally would because we don't have all the data. Take a screenshot here and we'll zoom in a little bit here. So here with Keeta, if we pull up Keeta and we'll use the fill tool, you can see Keeta is landing onto horizontal support right now. So this is a really good time to be buying Keeta based on both Elliott waves and market cycles. So the horizontal support level down here at 79 cents, great place to be buying, good area. It's very oversold, kind of like what happened to Ethereum when everybody panic sold their Ethereum. Keeta looks very similar, and I see a reversal coming off of this support level. It's very smart to buy the dip on support. And when I say the beginning of a new cycle, let's go ahead and remove this. This is our first impulse in a new cycle right here. So that's our first bullish move, the beginning of a cycle. And you can see we came up to resistance right here and pulled back down to support, back down to horizontal support. So that's why it's so smart to buy the support level down here, because we have a lot of support in this area and we rejected off resistance, so it's oversold. It's actually kind of, looks very similar to what happened to Ethereum when people panic sold their Ethereum on support before Ethereum broke out to a new all-time high. So let's do the comparison here real quick, actually, because it's very similar. So Keeta over here on the left, let's pull up Ethereum over here on the right. On Coinbase will be the best place to do it. So you can see what I mean here by the same kind of psychology in the market, right? So we have our all-time high resistance right here for Keeta, all-time high resistance, or for Ethereum, and then we have our all-time high resistance right here for Keeta, and then Ethereum came up to that resistance zone right here, because resistance is a zone, right? So Ethereum came up to that resistance zone, had a big correction, back down to support. We'll just go like this here, and we'll go like this. It came all the way back down to support right here. Everybody panic sold, or at least a lot of people did. And then you can see how strong the V-shaped recovery on Ethereum. So Keeta's doing the same thing. Keeta came all the way up to its old all-time high, pulled all the way back down. People are going to be really bearish right now. A lot of people will probably panic sell. There's probably negative news. But really, it's a good place to be buying because we're on that horizontal support level. And I expect the same thing to happen here for Keeta that happened to Ethereum, where we see a V-shaped recovery and a breakout to a new all-time high. So it looks really good. It looks like a nice setup here for Keeta. Is Casper worth investing into? Let's pull up Casper. Casper. Yes. Just to give you an answer, just a direct answer, yes, Casper is worth investing into. And there's a lot of reasons for it. There's more data, I believe, if we pull up on OKX. Nope, there's less data here. Where's the data? Sometimes it's hard to find where the data is at. There we go. It's on HTX is the exchange with the most historical data. So you can see Casper is heavily undervalued right now. Huge correction. Huge drop since 2022 and 2021 when people got really excited about Casper, but we're starting to see volume coming back in and the early signs of a reversal here for this coin. So what I see coming for Casper is a breakout for our first L8 wave sequence. So we'd have our wave 1 here, wave 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we also had a big ABC correction here. So here's our A wave, our B wave, and our C wave. So this looks like it's ready for a reversal and for a big turnaround. I mean, it's worth a penny right now. And this could easily go all the way back up to $1. Easily go back up to $1 in the relatively near future, but for sure by the end of 2026 I could see this hitting $1 per coin. So that's pretty good percentage gains here for Keeta. Let's see what that's like 100x. So that's really good percentage gains for Casper, not Keeta, my bad. So yeah, I see a lot of upside coming for Casper. Big reversal coming. In the short term, we also have a double bottom pattern forming. If we zoom in here a little bit on the smaller time frame, we have our first low right here, our second low right here, and it's actually kind of a triple bottom pattern really forming. But once we break above this resistance level right here, that confirms the double bottom. I believe we're going to see a big breakout here in the short term for Casper. A push right up through resistance and all the way to a new local high, and eventually we could hit as high as $1 or even higher. So yes, I do believe Casper is worth buying. Well, cool. Thank you guys all for tuning in to today's live stream. And yeah, I appreciate all the requests. I appreciate the donations. And crypto's looking good. Keep your faith, keep your hope. There's big things coming for the markets. The altcoin markets look ready for a lot more exploding from here, a lot more parabolic movement. Bitcoin looks ready for a lot of parabolic movement. Again, it looks a lot like Apple before Apple really became kind of like a household name. And so the money is coming in. You know, the market, the trend is your friend. The money is coming in. It's only going to come in faster and faster from here. And the way you're going to make the most money in this market is to be buying as much as you can and holding through the movement that's coming, which is going to be very, very, very big and very parabolic and very, very, very vertical. So I'm super excited about the crypto markets. We've got a big moon coming. Thank you guys for tuning in. I love you. I appreciate you. I look forward to seeing you guys in future videos and live streams. And yeah, I'll probably be able to start making videos and do another stream next week. Can't do anything over the weekend. I've got some plans. But yeah, I'm very excited about crypto. And yeah, the name of the game is to be buying and holding on and being ready for more upside. So yeah, thank you for tuning in. And as always, stay profitable out there.